49ers Web Zone, No Huddle Podcast. We're part of the Odyssey Network. I'm Al Sacco. He is Brian Rennick. I want to know, Faithful, how are you feeling? Do you feel better after the 49ers Week 6 win than you did the day before, a couple days ago, last week? Do you still see signs of worry? Do you think this team is headed around the corner to the right side of things? Brian, I feel better than I did,
Mm-hmm.
but there's still some things I'm concerned about. But we'll
Yeah.
break it all down. There were definitely some huge positive signs that I think can transition into this year and next year. But overall, I think I feel better.
Yeah, I feel better. Obviously, we talked about it after that Arizona loss, that, it's a short week. And if they go up into Seattle and they win, they're in first place in the division. And here we are, 3-3, first place in the division, with already a game over the Seahawks. I think the biggest takeaway for me from this game is the rookies. There are 4 rookies right now that look like they are not only going to contribute this year, but they look like rookies that will be cornerstones for this franchise into the future. A little concerned about the health of one of them, being Malik Mustafa, and also just concerned about the health of this team overall. We're going to talk about the running back attrition here in a second. But yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy looked great, looked in command. An absolute dart to George Kittle for that touchdown
throw
in the corner.
What a
An
beautiful
incredible throw. Even the second touchdown to Kittle was an impressive display of quarterbacking.
Yeah, Kyle mentioned that too. Kyle said he was almost as impressed with that one as he was with the one in the corner.
Yeah, and that one was knowing what the defense is wanting to do, and knowing the actual the play, the route combinations, and how if you just manipulate this guy with your eyes, then this is going to be open. And that's what he did. So Purdy was in command. The running game, they got back to it. Again, inexplicably got away from it last week. Ran the ball 33 times against the Seahawks, and then ran for 228 yards, which obviously you are going to dominate time of possession if you are running that much. But even more than that, more than running the ball, what I appreciated most in this game is their ability to stop the run against the Seahawks, because going into this game, Mike McDonald, I think it was not yesterday was the game, the day before, so Wednesday, they asked in one of his press availabilities, like, what is your game plan? And he said, it's on the hat. And his hat said, run the damn ball. They only ran the ball 20 times. They dropped back 52 times. Again, just an impressive performance all around. Obviously, special teams is still a concern.
Yeah, we'll get into that too. Huge concern.
Yeah. Not sure why Brian Schneider didn't just get left up in Seattle, but
you know what else is comical to me, and we'll see how Matthew Wright, if he's even going to play anymore after his shoulder, but he did well on field goals. They were a little bit low, but he made them.
Yeah.
But he doesn't seem like he has any power in his leg at all in terms of kickoffs. So when you get a dude who can't kick off past the 15-yard line against the Niners special team unit, coverage units, it's just, I mean, it's going to be a fucking disaster. So I kind of, for like entertainment purposes, hope he keeps kicking off, but it's not going to be good.
No.
But you mentioned the running on both sides. So the Seahawks tried to run. They came out.
Yeah.
Their game plan was clearly, we're going to run the ball early, and the Niners shut it right down, down, and they made them one-dimensional. And they even tried to mix some runs in late, and they couldn't. The Niners defense, I don't know where the hell that came from. The Seahawks offensive line is terrible, but it was good to see. It was a good step. Made me feel better. Again, one of those things that I was like, okay, maybe it's not as bad as we thought, but we'll find out. And according to Next Gen Stats on the other side of the ball, the Niners had 317 yards out of 21 personnel, which was the most by any offense since 2016. They averaged 11.3 yards per play with a 61% success rate on 28 plays and 21 personnel. And Kyle Posey tweeted that. So that's really impressive. It kind of feels like 49ers football. The 76-yard touchdown pass to Debo, which was only their second touchdown of more than 20 yards this season. Last year, they had 15.
They led the NFL last year, didn't they?
I believe so. And they haven't been getting those explosive plays. Came off of play action. Loved it. Loved it. You could play action, 76-yard touchdown. And they were 3-5 in the red zone after coming in 9 for 22. So they definitely did some things that make you feel better. But the explosive plays is what I had my eye on, because this was a big play team, whether it was Yak or Brock throwing the ball downfield. And to only have one touchdown in 5 games of over 20 yards, which was Juwan Jennings on a play where he was wide open. It was good to see them get that big play again. And you did mention Brock. Can we stop with, he's just one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yes.
Whether you just want to put him in, he is solidified top 10 best, one of the top 10 best quarterbacks in the NFL. He is an excellent quarterback. He can make plays with his legs. He can make plays with his arms. He's smart. A lot of his interceptions this year have been unlucky, a few tip balls there or whatever, but he is going to throw picks because he's a bit of a gunslinger.
Right.
But I thought he was terrific last night. 18 of 28, 250 plus, and 3 touchdowns and no picks. And like you said, on the second touchdown to Kittle, his first read was Ayuk. He was double covered. He scans the field. Boom. He hits the touchdown pass.
Yep.
And George Kittle has 18 touchdown catches in 27 regular season games with Brock Purdy. He had 24 the rest of his career in 70 plus games. So again, it goes to show you that upgrade at quarterback, what it does for your playmakers. But I'm sick and tired of like that. I don't want to make this a Brock Purdy rant, but guys like Steven Ruiz, who has like, Geno Smith is the 9th best quarterback in the NFL, and Brock Purdy is 15th. If you think that, I'm not saying Geno Smith is a bad quarterback. Geno Smith is a starting quarterback in the NFL. He played that crap last night, but he's not better than Brock Purdy. Stop.
He plays. That's the thing. If Geno Smith played against the 49ers every game, he'd be the worst quarterback in the NFL. I don't know what it is. But the 49ers absolutely are in his head because they absolutely dominate Geno Smith every time they play.
And Brock
Purdy has never lost to the Seahawks. I love that stat.
And he didn't play well against the Giants last week either. And again, he was terrific against the Lions, even though they lost. He's had some really good games. He's a good quarterback, but he's not a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
And he's not better than Brock Purdy.
No, he's not better. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. And you're starting to see it now nationally. Guys like Bill Simmons, I'm hearing other guys saying, like, listen, like Purdy's just really good. This is what it is. You're starting to hear it more nationally where people are all right, this isn't dink and dunk anymore. He's throwing the ball downfield. Let's just give the guy credit. I'm not saying he's Mahomes or Allen, or I'm not saying that. But is he that next tier? Probably. He's probably in that second tier of there's the Mahomes tier, then there's the Allen, Lamar guys, and then so that third tier of really, 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 really good quarterbacks.
Well, and let's not downplay this. And I don't know who, I can't remember who said it, and I don't know if I heard it on the broadcast or if I saw it on Twitter, but it was a big name. And one of the things they said was Brock Purdy is fast becoming one of the best scrambling quarterbacks in the NFL. And that's another aspect of his game that I think gets overlooked. And it's a part of his game that he's incorporated more this season, but also just more as he's, gotten more experience in the NFL. But I mean, it is a huge part of his game now. And it's a part of his game that I think helps the rest of the offense as well, because again, defenses are going to have to start accounting for his running, even though he's not a running quarterback. Please don't get it twisted. We're not saying that he's on the level of a Lamar or a Josh Allen, but what I do think he is on the level of a Patrick Mahomes, where it's like just maddening how like you think that you have him and then boom, he escapes and he gets a first down, right? And you're like, how does this guy keep doing this to us?
Right.
Like he's not fast, he's not right. And so, again, it is what I love is a couple weeks ago, Brock Purdy, somebody asked him about his speed, and he made sure to let everyone know that his 10-yard split is faster than McCaffrey and Debo, which I think I love it, but also it's true, right? His 10-yard, and that is what helps with his escapability. His short area quickness is elite, and it helps him escape muddy pockets and either, again, get upfield for a big gain, or just get out and get on the run and make plays with his arm as well. So that's another aspect that I think gets overlooked when discussing his game, and it's an important part of it. And you saw it again last night. Again, not a ton of not a ton of yards, but still he scrambled 4 times. Yeah, scrambled 4 times for 19 yards. So again, averaging about 5 yards a scramble, which is huge, especially if if those scrambles come on first or second down, that puts you in third and manageable, or again on third down and you're picking up first down. So,
and not to mention all the plays where he's spinning backwards and running around and running left to right and keeping plays alive, which has become almost his signature. I don't know if anybody looks like him doing that, where he's just going to spin to his left or right or whatever, either get rid of the ball or make a play, which is part of his game. The off-schedule plays are the difference in this offense from what we saw with the Jimmy Garoppolo or previous quarterbacks that they had, because Purdy can do so much off schedule.
And no sacks last night.
Mm-hmm.
Another big reason why, this team put up 36 points.
Yeah, and I understand the Seahawks are decimated on defense. The Niners are also a decimated team, but they took advantage of that. They played well on the lines last night, which is something that we've been critical of them that they haven't done. And they won in the trenches last night, which is a big part of the reason why they won that game. And you kicked off the show. You talked about the rookies. 2 rookies. Well, we'll talk about all of them, but let's start with the defense. The 2 rookies that obviously everybody knows who we're going to mention is Mustafa, who has a lower ankle injury, and he tweeted out he's going to be good. So it just looks like he rolled his ankle. He should be okay based on that. And Renardo Green.
Yeah.
Now, they each make huge plays. Smith overthrows his target with a pressure from Bosa, who had a phenomenal game. He had 14 pressures on 49 pass rushing snaps. And also, to jump into Bosa, I thought he had a series that may have saved the game.
100%.
It was 23-17.
Yep.
Seattle had all
the momentum.
And I thought their play calling was atrocious in this series, but regardless, they set up a screen that Bosa recognizes right away and blows up. And then he puts the pressure on third down to force the punt. Might have been a game-saving series.
All 3. So I would say all 3 plays on that in that series that ended that drive, Bosa was responsible for blowing the play up, right? And I tweeted out at that moment, I said, we may look back on that series as a superstar putting a team on his back and willing them to victory. And honestly, I genuinely think that defense, while they still gave up another touchdown, kind of garbage time touchdown a little bit. I mean, it wasn't, but I again, it was a momentum shifter, and that is what they needed, because once they gave up that 97-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, all the momentum swung to Seattle, and it genuinely felt like, here we go again.
Yeah, it's 23-17. That's what. Yeah. Oh shit, that's happening again.
And then he has that series, and they force a punt, and you just felt like it was just like an exhale, at least for me. And I think to me that is one of, if not the turning point of the game. That was a huge drive for Bosa, and it was, again, like I said, a superstar just backpacking his team and going, look, I'm going to get us off the field, and we're going to win this game. We're not losing this game. And I loved it.
And the other play that sealed the game was the Renardo Green interception, where I don't know if DK and Smith, they didn't seem on the same page all night, but he undercuts the route. He gets the pick, sets up the Niners. And that's huge from both Mustafa. Mustafa just flies around the field. He's really fun to watch. But the 49ers are not going to be able to re-sign everyone, especially with Purdy's contract coming up. And 2 guys that are likely gone just because of contract status, unless they want to take discounts to stay with 49ers, Charvarius Ward and Hufanga. Those guys likely aren't coming back.
Yeah.
It is huge, the development of Green and Mustafa, because those guys are likely going to take over for them. Week 6 was a tremendous step in terms of moving forward with those guys looking like they can maybe come in and be starters next year. And we're going to find out about Mustafa for sure, because Hufanga is going to be out. Mustafa's going to play a lot this year. And if he shows that can be a starter, Hufanga's gone. He just is. And same with Ward. I know Ward's knee has been bugging him, which explains why he hasn't looked like Ward. But he's not going to get another $10-15 million contract from the 49ers, not if they're going to pay Lenore too.
No. Yeah.
So you need Green, who was a second-round pick, who they invested in to step up. And I thought that was awesome. Seeing those two guys step up like that, I said, okay, the Niners, we know you have their star players, but we keep talking about the past drafts haven't been great, and they haven't been able to get just good role players, impact starters to come in. Maybe these guys can be that. I'm not saying they can be blue chippers, but maybe they can at least come in and be solid starters that are affordable, so you can afford to have the huge Purdy contract and IU contract and everything else.
Yeah, and another young player that came on late and I think was an important substitution from Nick Sorensen. Kyle Posey tweeted this out last night after the game. Kyle Posey of Niners Nation. He said, I thought it was telling that when Nick Sorensen felt like the 49ers needed to get off the field, he made a change at linebacker to begin the fourth quarter after three straight scoring drives. D. Winters came in and Devondre Campbell left, and the defense forced a punt. Again, Devondre Campbell, Isaac Yadam, guys that you've brought in that are older, experienced, right? You bring them in for their experience, but it's been evident through the first 6 weeks that those guys aren't it, right? Neither one of them. Yadam has been a massive disappointment in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was, we touted that as one of the underrated signings of the season. We thought it was going to be huge, and he has been disastrous. And Devondre Campbell is just too slow at this point. Like just the reality of
it's kind of over.
Yeah. And so again, you bring D. Winters on, who a guy that they drafted last year, very much a guy that reminded us of Dre Greenlaw in terms of play style and even just size and build, right? Smaller guy, but fast, run sideline to sideline. That is the thing about this defense that I think sometimes Kyle Shanahan gets in his own way, especially when it comes to rookies. Like, this defense is predicated upon speed, and it's predicated upon just absolutely flying to the ball, right? Like when this defense is good, you just see guys running sideline to sideline. You see guys just flying to the ball wherever it's at, right? And when you got guys like Campbell out there, you just can't, because he doesn't have the speed. But when you get guys like D. Winters, right, a younger guy who is, more athletic and just a different profile than Campbell, it tends to work. And so, yeah, the defense looked phenomenal. That Seahawks offense is good. Their offensive line is beat up, and their offensive line isn't great, but the offense in general is good. Geno Smith has a lot of weapons. 3 good wide receivers. Yeah, they've got good running backs, right? Like it's not an offense where you're like, how did you allow 24 points? Mm-hmm. It is a good offense. And so for the defense to, put up the performance that they did, Geno Smith was 30 of 52, but more than that, the Seahawks had 73 total plays to the 49ers 61. And they had 358 yards, but on 73 plays, that's 4.9 yards per play. Whereas the 49ers had 61 plays, racked up 483 yards, 7.9 yards per play for the 49ers offense. Mm-hmm. It's that Seahawks defense, which also is huge, because the last time that Mike McDonald faced these 49ers, he absolutely embarrassed them on Monday Night Football as the Ravens defensive coordinator. And I know going
different pieces on that Ravens team,
100%. So I didn't have an expectation, but what I did appreciate was that, Brock Purdy early in the week was like, yeah, we've watched that Ravens film a lot since that game happened. And we feel like we have some answers. And again, not the same level of talent on that defense, but still very similar schematically. And it certainly seemed like they definitely had answers this time, and I appreciated that. So just a great performance all around, except for the special teams.
You never know if it's going to have a Jim Schwartz effect or a Steve Spagnuolo effect where they just own Shanahan. Mm-hmm. I was kind of worried a little bit that maybe it was going to be that type of situation, but it clearly wasn't. The Niners had no issue moving the ball at all last night, and they came into the game defensively. They were giving up 5.6 yards per carry, which was near the bottom of the league. So to only do 4.9 last night against, like you said, an offense with a lot of weapons in there. Although I just thought Geno was atrocious.
Well, I'm saying yards per play, 4.9. So that's passing and rushing. Rushing, they averaged 2.6 yards. 2.6.
Okay. Yeah, but the
They
Niners
held them
were
to 2.6 yards per. Yeah.
yards per play coming in overall, which was
Yeah.
near the bottom of the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, the special teams, dude. I started making a list, and then I eventually just stopped. You had the short kicks all night, which led to good returns and bad coverage and that sort of thing. Cowing was just falling down. He was catching punts and just falling. And at that point, I'm like, you can't make this stuff up. Like, I see you slip once. Like, he slipped twice. Like, what, do you
Yeah.
need new cleats? Was 2 times, man. And obviously they had a false start on a punt, and they have the return for the touchdown. And it's easy when you win the game, and we're going over all these stats and all this cool shit that happened, to say, all right, you kind of brush it under the rug. We can't brush it under the rug, because it's going to cost the 49ers games. One of the reasons they lost the Super Bowl is they were negative points on special teams.
Yeah.
One of the reasons. It just is. And they continue to have negative plays that affect them on special teams. This team wants to win a Super Bowl. They're getting older. You got to fix that. And I think right now, what has Brian Schneider done to justify keeping his job?
Nothing.
What is he? How can you stay status quo here? At what point do you have to make some kind of change? And if you can't change personnel, and I don't know that they can, you have to make some sort of adjustment. And I feel like Schneider, that days are maybe they'll wait until the bye, but if this continues, you have to make a change on special teams. You cannot continue to stay with the product you're putting out there week in and week out, giving these returns up at terrible times to lose games. The return they gave up to the Cardinals, you lost the game, man. The return last night that went for a score changes the momentum in the entire game and puts a game that you were cruising in. It got dicey there in the second half. You can't keep allowing it to happen. Kyle Shanahan, you have to make a decision there and do something. I just think Brian Schneider's time is over.
Yeah. Yeah. This game should have ended as a laugher, right? The 49ers go up 23-3, and you're like, okay, like they have they have this in the bag. And to immediately go from up 20 to only up 13 right after you score your touchdown, because you give up a kickoff return for a touchdown, is a gut punch to a team that is like, hey, we've got this in the bag. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, shit, like, well, I guess we don't. And then like the momentum shifted completely. And then you start to think to yourself, oh, like I said, as a fan, I guarantee on the team, they're going like, okay, not again, right? Like we can't let and that's again where I appreciate Nick Bosa just bowing up and saying like, all right, I'm not letting this happen again. Like we're not going through this again. And that's where I think, again, that was a huge turning point in the game. But yeah, this special teams unit is atrocious. And I mean, with the level of talent that the 49ers have on this squad, your special teams can't be as bad as it is. And it has to be coaching. Like there's no other explanation for it. It's not execution. It's not right. If it continues to happen, that is a coaching issue. It's not just an execution issue. And so, I would love, for some beat reporter to be like, hey, Kyle, like you've had quite a bit of issues on special teams for a while now, but just this year, like what, where are you at on, making a change or right? Like put his feet to the fire a little bit, because again, I still contend that Kyle Shanahan doesn't give a shit about special teams, but the problem is that's fine, but your team is not good enough right now to not give a shit about special teams, right? You're not blowing teams out. And so you have lost games because of special teams, and you're going to continue to do so this season unless something changes. And really, like you said, what can change other than a new coordinator?
Well, that's the thing in terms of him not caring. Like there's one thing to not care and say, well, we can fair catch every punt. I don't give a shit. We can take a touchback every time. I don't give a shit. But when it's costing you games,
right,
which it's doing right now, you almost had 2 weeks in a row where it costed you 2 games. Yeah. You cannot afford that. Listen, they came into this week. There were 3 teams in the NFC without a conference win: the 49ers, the Seahawks, and the Panthers. Now it's just the Seahawks and the Panthers. But that's how dire it was, and that's how much of a must-win this game was. As much as any game can be a must-win in week 6, you could not start 0-3 in the division and what would have been 0-4 in the conference. You just couldn't do it. So this was a must win for them. And they did have to come out and take care of business. And they did in every aspect except special teams. Yeah. So it's 3 phases of the game. And when this phase continues to get ignored or not dealt with, and if you think you have the players, George Odom is a good special teams player. You spent high draft picks on your kickers. It's clearly, like you said, it seems like it's a coaching issue somewhere. And I know it seems like it's been a coaching issue because Snyder hasn't been the special teams coach the whole time.
Right.
But he's not working. So go somewhere else. That's kind of where it is to me right now. But it is frustrating. It's comical, but when it costs you a game, it's not. It's easy to joke about Cowling falling down or Matthew Wright not being able to kick the kickoff more than like 30 yards or whatever he's doing. But when it starts to cost you games, it's really not funny. Something else that isn't funny to me is this Christian McCaffrey thing. When I hear things, Brian, like he's getting ready to ramp it up, but he was also getting ready to ramp it up before the season started. And he's really hoping he can play this year. That stuff scares me. It scares me a lot. Albert Breer was talking about it, and he said the next, few weeks are critical in terms of how he feels. Because if he does try to ramp it up again, and if they do have to shut him down again, it's probably the season, man. Yeah. or close to it. Because when he does come back, and again, it's not going to be, say, best case scenario week 10. I'm just spitballing, right?
Yeah.
You got to ramp it up. So he's really not going to be himself. You're not going to throw him in there and give him 20 carries. They're going to ease him in. Right. He won't be himself. Look at him when he comes back and then add like 3 or 4 games. And then maybe you can start to see, if he's healthy, the full Christian McCaffrey experience. So you're talking the end of the season. Now, if he's ready for the playoffs, great. If you have a healthy Christian McCaffrey in the playoffs, I'll take it.
Right.
But there's a real possibility he may not play this year, or at least not be himself when he does. So what does that mean? Well, we felt okay with Jordan Mason, who tied Charlie Garner for the most yards for a 49ers running back in the first 6 games with 609. But now he's got something going on with his shoulder. Mm-hmm. Despite what the Twitter doctors say, which may be one of the most annoying things that has come out of Twitter. There was a dude I saw, I think his last name was Morse or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, he's one of these Twitter doctors, right? He's a doctor and he's got the check mark, and he watches the game and tells you what happened to the player from watching the game.
All right.
And he was arguing with Christian Watson's dad about what happened with Christian Watson. Did you see that? And his dad was like, no, that's not what it is. The doctor. And he's like, well, I watched it on TV. And he's like, I'm his dad, dude.
I'm his dad, dude.
Like, I know what happened to him. I'm glad you watched it on TV. But there's some people who do a good job with it and just say, hey, this is what it looks like happened. But some of it's getting a little bit ridiculous. But that's just a new thing we have now, are people who just sign on to Twitter and are doctors based on what they saw. You don't even need to have a primary care physician anymore. Just put what's going on 100%. With you on Twitter, and someone will tell you what's happening. What was I talking about? Running backs. Anyway, Jordan Mason.
Yeah.
Doing a great job. But shoulder issue. And his carries, we talked about it. He was on pace for almost 400 carries, and he runs really hard. Yeah. Injuries happen. So if he's banged up, or you have to rely on him for the rest of the year, and you have to give him less touches to keep him healthy, where are you going to go? Where they should stop going is Deebo Samuel for a couple reasons.
It's not working anymore.
One, it ain't working. He's got 15 carries this year for 61 yards. Now he's averaged at least 5 yards a carry the last 3 years. Not doing that this year with 15 and 61. That's just a little over 3, if my math is right.
Yeah.
It's just not working. No matter where they give him the ball, it's like 2-3 yards. It doesn't seem to be happening. And on top of that, he's taking hits you do not want him to take. Full stop. You do not want Deebo Samuel he's injury prone. He plays physical. It seems like every game he gets up. Like, I know he said he got hit in the funny bone last night. His arm was hanging, so it was scary for a little while. But he's going to get hurt if he keeps getting that kind of volume.
Right.
Carrying the ball. Once in a while, mix it in. I'm all for it. But you can't rely on him as your second running back. So where do you go? Well, Garendo gave you. It's pretty fun to watch him on that long run last night. What drove me crazy on that is I know you coach softball. I coach baseball and softball. One of the things that I always tell the kids, when you're running from first to second, do not look at the catcher. Put your head down and run. Yep. And on that long run, he looked like he was kind of looking behind him and looking to the sidelines. And Deebo said he heard someone from the sidelines say, get down. So that's why he got down at the end. Deebo was like, I would have scored. But regardless, that was a big play. One of the reasons they got him was because of speed, and he hit that hole and he took off and he was basically gone. So that is definitely gives, that's great moving forward. That's definitely something that you could hang your hat on.
Yeah.
But still a rookie. I don't know that he's somebody that can really hold the fort if he has to be the main running back. And after that is Patrick Taylor. Is that his name? I forgot his name.
Patrick Taylor Jr. Yeah.
Patrick Taylor. And then who's basically your fifth string running back. So right now the Niners are down. When you consider CMC, Mason, Elijah Mitchell, who's out for the year, you're down to your fourth and fifth string running backs. They may have to go out and sign someone. Whether you bring Matt Breida back or whatever you do, they need someone else in the running back room who can come in and give them a few carries here and there in a game.
I mentioned something I think last week, and I'm gonna bring it up again. Regardless of what Jordan Mason's outlook is with his injury, I definitely think they should call Jacksonville and see what it would take to get Travis Etienne onto this team. I think that would be a huge get for them, both in the passing game and just as extra bodies in that running back room. Because while that run by Guerrero was awesome, right? It was 76 yards.
He didn't do much.
He finished the game 10 rushes for 99 yards. So he was 9 for 13, 9 rushes for 13 yards on his other, on his other 9 carries. So, I think he is still getting used to running in this scheme specifically. I don't think he has the confidence that you need to hit some of these seams. But also, real quick, on that 76-yard run, shout out to Jake Brendel, who had an absolute key block.
He did
to break.
Might have been the play of the season for him.
Yeah. It was the block that sprung Guerrero for that what should have been a touchdown. But so shout out to Jake Brendel, who has gotten a lot of shit on this show and on Twitter and just this season. Great block by him. But there needs to be they need more. They need more just because, again, don't know what the status is on Mason's shoulder, and Guerrero and Taylor are great, but I don't think you can rely on them to carry the running game if Mason has to miss any time.
No. I don't know where you go if he does have to miss time. It's not like you're gonna. I mean, I know Kareem Hunt was out there, but there aren't many other Kareem Hunts out there. There's Breida's out there. Like I saw Latavius Murray was the name I saw out there. I think a trade, like you said, is eventually where they have to go. I don't know if a big name like Etienne will be available.
Yeah. Or they might have to pillage someone's practice squad.
Yeah, that's another good point. But I still look at the Dolphins, who I don't think are going anywhere. Root for them to lose.
There you go.
Because again, they have to get healthy. But if you can get a Mostert to come back for the rest of the year or something like that, Jeff Wilson Jr. They know the system. They can come in and give you 10 carries, whatever it is. You don't have to give them the ball 20, 25 times.
Right.
Playoff tested. They've been around. That would be a perfect fit to me. Just pick up the phone and call the Dolphins. You may be able to do it anyway, whether they win a couple more games or not.
Right.
Because they have so many running backs. I know Achane has a concussion right now. I'm not sure what his long-term prognosis is with that, but they have Achane, they have Jalen Wright. Those are probably their top two guys, I would think, are where they want to move forward, at least the top two. So see what you can do with Mostert and Wilson and get those guys back in. But again, long-term, this was a game where we saw some good things. Debo looked like Debo on some plays. Kittle always looks good. Ayuk, again, was a little bit invisible. We'll see. He had a really good week last week. We'll see how it progresses as the season goes on. But there were good signs for the Niners on both sides of the ball that we talked about. But what does it mean overall? I still don't know. We'll find out a lot when they play Kansas City coming up, because this is the biggest game of the regular season. I understand it's an interconference game, but this is a team that's ended your title hopes to the last 5 years or whatever it's been. This is the team that you can't get over the hump. And this is a game that if you lose or get trounced, it may have a little bit of a hangover effect. But if you win, if they come in and they win that game, well, that can carry you. Now, all of a sudden you're like, yeah, dude, we got momentum now. Like, we just beat Kansas City. We're getting it back together. We can go on a run. And 3-4 makes it tough. Not for that NFC West, because I think 9 wins is going to win the NFC West. The Seahawks are not a good football team. They
Right.
beat 3 cupcakes. They lost to the Giants at home last week.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't stop Detroit. I know that was a back and forth game. Detroit is very good. And the Niners, for the most part, really kicked the shit out of them, I thought, last night. So they're not a team that I'm concerned about getting more than 10 wins at most. At most. Yeah. The Rams are 1-4. It's really difficult for them to get to 9 or 10 just based on the injuries. They'd have to go 9-3 to get to 10 wins the rest of the way. That's difficult. And we don't know what the Cardinals are, but I don't think the Cardinals are a 10-win team.
No.
So can the Cardinals hover around 7 or 8? Maybe, but I don't think they're going to get there. So can 9-10 wins take the NFC West? Yeah. And should the Niners go 7-4 the rest of the way? I sure as hell hope so. I sure as hell hope they can go 7-4 the last 11 games to get to 10 wins. So they should be okay there. But overall, I don't know, man. I still don't know.
I mean, at this point, it's hard to think about the Super Bowl with just the level of injuries that they have, right? They're just not a whole team. And if they can get to as close to whole as possible by the playoffs, then maybe again it becomes a different story. If you can get Hargrave back for the playoffs, possibly if CMC comes back late in the season and is healthy for the playoffs. There are just some, Dre Greenlaw in the second half of the season, if he can come back and get back to the level that we're used to him playing. I definitely think that I just don't to me, there aren't, I know that the Kansas City Chiefs are undefeated and I'm not taking anything away from them, but they haven't looked the same on offense. It's been a defense that has led this team. But I just don't, it doesn't feel through the first, we'll say 5 weeks, because even though the 49ers are 3-3, it's Thursday. But through the first, 6 weeks of the season, there doesn't really seem to be right now a dominant team that you can look at and go, who, like they are going to steamroll, this league. The Chiefs are 5-0, but there are a couple of those games that they probably should have lost that they pulled out, and great for them. Like you got to give them credit for that. But yeah, I like I said, if this team can get healthy by the time the playoffs roll around, because you and I are both pretty confident that they're going to make the playoffs as the NFC West winner.
It's a disaster if they don't. Yeah.
Big time. Yeah. But if they can get more whole by the time the playoffs start, they're going to be one of the teams to beat, because like we said, Brock Purdy is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Full stop, no qualifiers, no anything. And there's still just so much talent on the offensive side of the ball and on the defensive side of the ball. When some of these, or if some of these players come back. So, this might be one of those seasons where you don't like the way that it started, but by the end of it, the 49ers have quite a bit of momentum. It sure seems like they can be building to that, but this was the first step, right? You had to beat this team. You had to beat this team. You had to get a win in the NFC. You had to get yourself back into first place in the NFC West. You did that. That's step one. If you can beat the Chiefs, that is a turning point in a season that did not start the way that you wanted it to. And so, it makes it an exciting game. They get 10 days off. The Chiefs have a full-on bye, which is scary, because
Andy Reid's really tough after a bye. I don't know the record off the top of my head. We'll get that, but it might be.
Really, I think he might be undefeated.
I don't think he's undefeated
with the Chiefs.
Oh, maybe with the Chiefs. Okay, yeah. So he's been coaching a long time. It's Chiefs. Yeah, Chiefs week is going to be huge. But like you said, they're probably going to have to grind out this season. And then you hope by the end of the season, they're as whole as they can be and they can go into the playoffs. They're a playoff tested team. They know how to win in the playoffs. But this season is going to be a grind, and there's going to be games that are gross. I thought last night felt kind of gross for a while too. And then they had some big plays to get it up and get themselves going. But it just is what it is. You're not going to steamroll through every season and win 12, 13 games. If they have to go 10-7 and grind it out and get in the dance, sometimes it's all you can ask for. Just get in the dance and then see what happens. They know how to win close games in the playoffs. We know that they know how to come back when they're down in the playoffs. We don't know if they know how to win the Super Bowl, but we know that they can get to that NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. So you just got to get in the dance. But we'll see. It's a huge week coming up. We'll hopefully have some big shows, some guests this week to talk about the Chiefs game. It's certainly the highlight of the NFL week. Next week, I know we're jumping ahead because they still have to play Week 6, but in Niner land, we're on to the Chiefs, right? As Bill Belichick would say.
On to the Chiefs. I found it. Andy Reid is 21-3 coming off a bye.
Oh, holy shit! He's only lost 3 games total.
He was 13-1 as the coach of the Eagles off a bye, and he's 8-2 off a bye as the
oh,
coach
wow.
of the Chiefs.
I knew it was good. I didn't know it was that good. That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Great use of the internet by you, Brian. Good job.
Thank you.
Way to Google. All right, people. We appreciate you. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to the show anywhere you get your podcasts. Please subscribe to our YouTube station. Same stuff there, man, and some other cool stuff from 49ers Web Zone. You'll dig that. 49ers Web Zone, just search it on YouTube, and you can subscribe there too. Thanks for listening. For Brian, I'm Al.
Later.